Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming. This is my talk today is going to be on dreams, jump on the quantum stream. And I've been on this deep dive into the merging of metaphysics with quantum physics. And so I feel like dreams are a nice medium for people to, because most people have experienced dreams. If you haven't dreamed, let me know. That would be very unusual. But most people have experienced dreams, and so it's a nice way for me to be able to explain how to get into the quantum realm and how dreams are kind of the gateway into the quantum realm. So I'm a teacher. I'm also a spiritual counselor. I am a minister of walking prayer for the Center for Sacred Studies. It's a place in Guerneville, California. It is not a Christian ministry. This is for Mother Earth and all of her beings. And so our ministry is to walk in prayer for her and for all life. And I'm also a holistic life and health coach. And my past, I was a teacher, so I taught in public school. I taught 5th grade and also up to 8th grade. And with my 8th grade students, I was a science teacher and I taught robotics. So yeah, so I have that aspect as well, the tech aspect. I specialize in life integration, quantum healing, dream interpretation, and quantum message analysis. I'm using the word quantum message analysis now because based upon my own experiences, I feel that the messages that we are receiving in the unseen realms are quantum messages. And so this is like my whole study. I also interview people on my YouTube channel, other experiencers and scientists, and I'm trying to explore the nature of consciousness and bridging the whole metaphysics and the quantum physics together. I am also an experiencer and a cancer thriver. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 39, and I healed myself in a very unconventional way. I did not use any Western medicine. I am now in remission. I never say healed because I feel like there are certain behaviors and pre-programs that basically the reason why you get cancer. And so I just say I'm in remission because I will always have to work on remaining in this higher vibrational state. So that is partially why I'm a holistic life and health coach, but that is definitely a huge catalyst for me for why I've gone down the quantum realm with new things that I'm going to be doing. And I will be interviewing next week a woman called Cynthia Sue Larson. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she wrote a book on, she's also a physicist and she graduated from UC Berkeley. And she is an experiencer herself, and she's really been studying the Mandela effect. She was recently on a podcast with Alex Ferrari. I don't know if you know who he is, or Emilio Ortiz. And she's pretty well known, but I'm really excited to talk to her about quantum physics. So it's one of my goals. Would you like me to answer your question again, sir? I can't, before we begin, or?
No, I'm supposed to say questions at the end.
Okay. If you want me to, I totally can. We can jump off with that, yeah.
I can't really get anybody to tell me what that actually means.
Yeah. So quantum is basically beyond, so there's different layers to our physical reality. So right now we are in classical reality, third dimensional reality. Once we start going deeper and deeper and smaller, if you're gonna like think of your physical body, and then you go into the cell, and then you go into the atom, and then the atom, beyond the atom, you get into the particles, the quantum particles. What I've come to realize through my own research is that those are still almost physical reality. That when we really start getting to the quantum, it's the sub-layer below the Planck scale. And that's where no energy, that's where no thing exists. And so a physicist that I just recently interviewed, he talks about bit physics. And so I'm gonna kind of go into that a little bit. There's 4 physicists that I feel are encompassing making up a better understanding for me and for others as an experiencer. Because the reason why I've gone down this path is because I am an experiencer, Yeah, go ahead, you have a question?
You said the sub-layer below the something scale, and I missed the word.
Planck scale.
Plate?
Planck.
What's the Planck scale?
So basically that's a scale, that's a good question. So that is below, it's like negative 10 to the 25th power.
Small.
Extremely small.
Smaller than
Yeah, it's small. It's beyond, yeah, it's even smaller. So it's below everything. It's a sub-layer below all of it. And in my course, which I'm launching tomorrow, I go into extreme depth about it. Like I go into the science behind it. Like my first lesson is over 2 hours long, which I break up into 2 separate videos. But based up, due to time, I keep it very simple for this lesson tonight. But basically what I've come to realize is that we live in a quantum universe. And we are biological transceivers. So a transceiver is someone who can transmit and also receive information. And so based upon my own research, all scientists and anyone who has come across scientists, psychologists, or anyone who's come across an extremely interesting theory or had a major breakthrough event like Einstein, it has happened to them in what I call the liminal state, which is the in-between state between awake and sleep, or the hypnagogic state. And so within this state, we can connect to the unknown and unseen worlds. And that is where our power lies. That is our power as humans. And right now, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but based upon the technological advances that are happening on our planet right now, that they're trying to take away that power from us. And so in order to tap into that power, we have to recognize that power and be aware of that power. So I'm just going to read what Einstein's theory, how it came about. But Einstein's theory of relativity came to him in a dream about cows. He dreamed he was walking through a farm when he came upon some cows by an electric fence. He then saw the cows jump at the same time as the fence gave them an electric shock. But a farmer who had been standing at the other end of the field saw them jump one by one. So in his dream state, he was able to see 2 simultaneous things happen at the same time, which made him realize and come to the realization of the theory of relativity based upon that, which is, to me, it's fascinating. And, a lot of times Einstein, I go to Einstein, everybody knows Einstein, but he says, we need to continue our imagination. We need to not stop imagining things, because within the imagination, that is where things, hello, how are you, come forth. So this is kind of the basis of my study. And I was talking about biological transceivers. So I really believe that due to our physiological structures and the intelligence of the human body, that we are able to transmit and receive communication from consciousness in the universe. And there's this huge question right now within physics, are our thoughts inside our brain, or are we just the transceivers of thoughts that is happening outside us within the field? It's a huge question of mine. And I think are we tuning into it based upon our specific frequencies? And I'm going to go deeper into that. And so if this is the case, then that means that our intelligence and our ability to connect to the universe is like, in life, is beyond what we can imagine. And so my goal is to empower people to realize that they have this power within themselves, to be able to connect, to receive messages, and to get answers for themselves without having to look outside at someone else telling them those answers. Like from a guru or spiritual leader or whoever, a political leader, whatever it is, we have them inside ourselves. And so based upon my studies and what I realized is, and my question is water the initiator to this intelligence? Because we're over 70% water. And so I started questioning, is water the intelligence that is helping us connect to all of these other things beyond in the non-local reality, basically, in the universe? And so it's clear, very clear, and science has proven this, that there's water beyond our solar system. There's water in the moons by, I think, Saturn, right? I believe. So my question is water the medium for consciousness for our universe? So I kind of go deep into this. And I recently watched a YouTube video on Veda Austin. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Yes.
So Veda Austin, Yeah, so she basically, she went through a process, a healing process, and she realized she had this experience with water. And she realized water's intelligent, so she's been tracking kind of like Masaru Emoto, I think I'm pronouncing that right, with his study. Like, she kind of took it along, but she has like a specific way of freezing water, and then the water presents an image or a picture. Clearly there's some type of, like I said, water is a medium. Water is an initiator that is initiator some type of consciousness based upon our energy field, our thoughts, our whatever that is happening in this third dimensional reality. So water is huge, I believe. This is from today. I just found this. This is the most detailed computer-generated cell to date. So if you look at this, clearly this cell has extreme intelligence, right? It was computer-generated. However, we have the technology right now to be able to computer generate some of these things, and I bet it's even more detailed than that. And we have 40 trillion cells in our body. So if it's that detailed and we have all those cells in our body and we have this water that's running through us, we have this crazy ability to be able to connect to these unseen realms. We've just been programmed to believe that we can't. So, and dreams are a gateway there for all of us, because it's natural. It happens naturally. So I really like this. I think I'm going to go, probably this will take me down another rabbit hole of study, in the future. But it's really fascinating and interesting. So what I've come to realize is it's dreams, but also altered states of consciousness. And what I'm going to be focusing on specifically in my course and my that I'm launching tomorrow is dreams in the hypnagogic state. And the reason why is that I've had experience in that. And my experience with the hypnagogic state and sleep paralysis started when I was 15. And I think that the initiator for me was menstruation. So, and this happens for women. For some reason, there is a physiological change, and then I started having these really strange experiences where I was awake, but I was out of my body. Or I was awake and there was a being communicating with me in the in-between state. And it was a scary experience for me. And it was like an awakening experience for me. And I didn't know why it was happening, and I didn't have an elder to tell me or to help me or guide me through that experience. Because in the past, the indigenous peoples, those children who were sensitive to these things or had these experiences, there were elders to help guide them. And so there was a long period of kind of lost, period. And so what happened for me, I started experiencing within the in-between state, falling down a black hole. This happened for over a year, where I was falling down this black hole, and it was sleep paralysis, and I was falling down the black hole, and I had to force myself to get up out of this black hole. And I didn't know what it meant. And then finally, I had an experience where I let go of the fear. When you let go of fear, things start happening, right? And so I let go of that fear, and it was really strange. It was on my left side, my left ear. There was like this, it was almost like this high-pitched sound coming through, and then it turned into radio waves, and then it turned into opera. And then it turned into a being that was not from this planet, not from here, it was from another realm, that told me, I will show you the way. And so after that experience, I think I was like 19 or 20, I have been on a search since then for 20-something years. I'm 44 now. Why did I have that experience? Who was it that spoke to me? Why was I falling down this black hole? And it took me on this deep, seeking, And so I realized, and I've had multiple experiences like that since then, but I've realized that within this in-between state, there's a power that lies there, and that is when we are able to shift to another reality. That's when we're able to go beyond the veil, and I'm going to talk about that. So altered states of consciousness are the dream state, hypnagogic, deep meditative, ESP, psychic and intuitive abilities, clairvoyance, so clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, so that's seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. Breath work, interestingly enough, deep breath work, like Maitri breath work, which I'm learning to be trained under, and then also the Groff or holotropic breath work can get you into very deep altered states of consciousness, where you can have visions, where you can release, where you can connect to your ancestors or heal. Hypnosis, hypnotic state. So I've done past life regressions before. That's also another one where you get into a transcendental state, where it's a hypnagogic state to get into those deeper levels. Deep nature connection and silence. Going by a tree and sitting there and then all of a sudden feeling one with the universe, one with the tree, one with the mycelium, one with everything. Plant medicines, so psilocybin, ayahuasca, for example, santodaime. Psychedelics, this is more of like LSD and ketamine and other things. And then also ceremonial work, drumming, dancing, like being within a ceremony with elders and, you know, going through a process that also can get you in deeper states and altered states of consciousness. So I believe that these altered states of consciousness are when we tap into them, we are alive, and we then connect to the life force in the universe within these states. And within these states, multiple things can happen. Healing can happen. Awareness can happen. Clearing of past life issues can happen. Clearing of your subtle energy body or your human energy field can happen. Connecting to ancestors, connecting to your guides, connecting to the spirits of the land. I mean, it goes on and on. And this is, I believe, this is what is powerful about humans. This is where our power lies. And it's important to know how to do this and to understand it if it happens, because then you have the power within yourself to get answers without looking outside for answers. And so now we're going to dive deep into the quantum, right? So what I've come to realize is that for me as an experiencer, it's been hard for me to understand why I'm experiencing these things. Why am I having, why was that being speaking through me? How did that happen? So I started asking questions, and I realized it's within the quantum realm and with quantum theories and these four specific quantum scientists that I believe help me understand why. And so I believe these theories support that we are transceivers of consciousness, and our awareness is universal and non-local. That means beyond third dimensional reality. And I feel like we're so close to understanding who we truly are and our true nature. It's coming forth soon. So this is Federico Fagin. Have you heard of him? I highly recommend reading the book if you'd like to go down the quantum realm. It's called Irreducible. So Federico Fagin is the inventor of the first commercial microprocessor, who later proposed that consciousness is the fundamental reality arising from quantum information beyond the physical world. And the reason why he got to this level of understanding is because he had an experience. So he was, and you can look him up, and many YouTube, interviews with him. But basically what happened with him is that he was in a kind of a dark state, really in this third dimensional reality, really like everything's physical. He was super successful. He developed the first commercial microprocessor for like IBM, It wasn't a money issue. It wasn't a science issue. It was a lack of connection to the universe issue. And so he had this like crazy experience in the in-between state, at nighttime, in the witching hour, around 3 o'clock. And he somehow, like, light came through him, and he became one with the universe. And from there, he has been on basically a search to be able to explain why this is happening based in quantum physics, basically. So his theory is Federico Fagin believes consciousness is a fundamental reality where each person's experience arises from unique quantum information. And the physical world is a simulation emerging from the deeper consciousness field. So that this would be the third dimensional reality is a simulation. And this is where I question, because that means that we're kind of like, it's almost like a computer program. I believe that's the only word, and he is, computer programmer in a way, because he developed the microprocessor, so that's kind of his background. But it's a living simulation, if it is a simulation. It has life force to it, It's not a computer program, from what I believe. This is my personal opinion. So here's one of them, and I go deep into his theory in my course. Here's another one, Doug Matzke. I interviewed him. You can look at, you can see my interview with him on YouTube. He's also he's a physicist and a computer scientist who explores quantum information theory. Deep Reality is very heady. The book itself goes deep into the math, but if you love that stuff and you like to, if you really like that, then I highly recommend reading it. I took copious notes, and I had to go back, but the notes really help. But what Doug Matzke's theory posits is that consciousness arises from a recursive quantum computational field from entangled informational units, which are e-bits. So 1 bit would be like this, just one finger, 1 bit, and it has a plus and minus. And in the middle is 0. That'd be 1 bit. An e-bit, or qubit, would be 2 of them. So it looks like this. No, a qubit. That it would look like that. An e-bit is 2 of these qubits. And so what he believes is that he calls them existons, and he says that they are consciousness. They're conscious, that all life is conscious. And he's the one who posits that with these e-bits, or these bits, e-bits, qubits, are in the sub-layer of reality, but they make up everything. And so what they do is they create these deep geometrical shapes, and he uses geometric algebra to prove via math that these bits self-organize into structures and lattices almost like a web. And so it's really, really interesting. And so actually from his book and interviewing him, it really helped me understand quantum physics on a different level, So his theory would go below the quantum. Like this is the non-local. Not zero, like you're almost like in the zero field. But the thing is that these bits are conscious, and so they actually, by their interactions with each other, and he goes deep into the math, which I cannot explain. So I understand more on the metaphysical level, So here's another one, Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff. And so they focus kind of more on like the physical aspects of it in the brain. But Roger Penrose is a mathematical physicist. He's on the left. And Stuart Hameroff is an anesthesiologist who together developed the OR theory. So what they propose is that that consciousness arises from quantum processes inside the brain microtubules. So microtubules are inside your neurons. And what they believe that there are moments of awareness, thought, and the thoughts of awareness or whatever are created by orchestrated wave function collapses. So this is where the quantum comes in, because what's strange is that with quantum, if you observe something, it's there, but then once you observe it, it collapses. So the wave actually collapses after the observation of the thing. And they're able to link it to space-time geometry. So I'm getting really like scientific right here, but it's good to know this so that we can start understanding the fundamentals when I talk about dreams and how it ties into the quantum realm. So this is Anirban Bandyopadhyay, and he is a physicist and a neuroscientist. And he's known for discovering, this is recent, 2023, high-frequency quantum vibrations in brain microtubules. So it's him and then Penrose and Hameroff, who are kind of, their theories are coming together, which is really interesting to me. But he was able to prove within the microtubule that there is quantum oscillations that are occurring. And so from that, he realized that there are nested frequencies within them. So, I mean, and I'm going to talk about the frequencies within our brain by getting into the different states within the sleep, in the dream, but it's even below what the 5 main ones are, which is crazy to me. So there's 12 more from what he has proven, which is really interesting. So there's nested layers. And so he believes that this involves like music and harmonics and that type of stuff. So it's really fascinating stuff. Thank you for listening to that. But I have to, back up what I'm talking about. So I received this. Have you guys heard of Barbara Brennan? I spelled her name wrong right here, so it's with an A. But from Core Light Healing. So I actually came across her work here. I was here at the Metaphysical Library, and when you're here and you just, I don't know, the book kind of just fell into my awareness. And so I picked it up, and I've actually had it for over a month now studying her work. But what she posited is that from her Core Light Healing is that there are 4 states of like basically perceptual awareness. There's stasis, expansion, stasis, contraction. I, from my own experience, believe that instead of stasis being the first, it's actually equilibrium instead. So it's equilibrium, expansion, stasis, and contraction. And so what I believe is that we go through these 4 cyclical levels of awareness, conscious awareness, as we are moving through and becoming more aware of our non-local reality. And so, and we naturally do this. And so equilibrium would be like where you're in a balanced state. You're internally balanced, you feel good, everything's great. And then let's say you come here to the Metaphysical Library and something comes up and you find something. Or something comes across and you're like, wow. And you get into the expansion phase where you start researching it and like digging deeper and like all this information starts coming, synchronicities start coming to you. Like all of a sudden you start knowing things. And then all of a sudden it stops. And then it's the stasis point. And everything stops and you're like hovering, almost like in the void, not moving. And you don't, like all the stuff came to you and you don't know what to do, and you're in this point of like not being able, like, you want more information, nothing's coming to you. And then what happens is it goes internal. The contraction phase is all of that information goes into yourself and it goes into your system. And so we go through these cyclical cycles. I call it spirals of spiritual awakening consciousness. And we always go back to the equilibrium stage. That's why I call it equilibrium instead of stasis. Yeah, so if stasis means, and I actually wrote it down in Greek, but I believe it means to stop or to stay still. Yeah, so standing and stop means stasis, and then equilibrium means, and this is in Latin, balance. There's a difference between them. They are synonyms, which is interesting because in the definition of stasis, it says in a state of equilibrium, but that's not really what stasis means by the Greek root word. So I'm going to go a little bit more into Barbara Brennan's work, just really quick because I feel like it's important. But I just recently got this. I just wanted to, this is Barbara Brennan, Hands of Light. I have her books out, so if you want to take them out, they'll come back in a couple of weeks, but just to let you know. But what this is interesting is that she calls this clarity, perception, and frequency of perceptual range. So everything in the dotted area is basically the 3rd dimensional reality. When you start going beyond the 3rd dimensional reality, right here is the veil. That's when we cross over, and that's when we start expanding into this non-local reality, the quantum reality, multidimensional reality. And so just when I was going back here, just like with that sine wave, these are the 4 stages, the 4 cyclical levels. So equilibrium is here, then you go to expansion, then you go into a stasis point, and then or stasis, is up here, expansion, stasis, and then you go down into contraction and level out into equilibrium. So we go through these levels of conscious awareness all the time, and we get through these levels in altered states. It's almost like a powerhouse in altered states that powers you forward faster. This is just Hindu philosophy, kind of the same thing. We're in the manifest reality, the Maya, third dimensional reality. Brahman is everything beyond. So Brahman would be the multidimensional reality and our true universal self when you're starting to reach your truth. Here's another example of what I was talking about, how we go through the different stages and that we start expanding out, our awareness starts expanding out further and further. So from that, we're going to go into dreams. And I feel like it's important to be able to show all this other information first before we start talking about dreams. So dreams, based upon the Britannica dictionary, this is like the basic understanding of it, is that it's a series of thoughts, visions, feelings that happen during sleep. Or it's an idea or vision that is created in your imagination and that is not real. So this is, I was looking at you, I'm like, so this is where I start questioning these things and I start actually kind of butting my head up against it. Like, no, there's more than this. This is what they're telling us it is, but this has not been from my experience or multiple millions of other experiencers on the planet. In Jungian psychology, which I always refer to, a dream is defined as a spontaneous self-portrayal in symbolic form of the actual situation in the unconscious within the sleep state. So what he's saying that it's actually what is happening in a symbolic form, but you're not conscious within your sleep state. But a lot of us have experienced conscious dream states. Astral travel, for example. Has anybody experienced, astral travel here or out of body? Yeah. And you're conscious, right? Mostly, kind of. Yeah. So this is the traditional dream. And this is the psychological perspective of dreams. You know, we have an average of 50,000 thoughts per day. We use these to translate into feelings and emotions in the dream state that need to be interpreted. So, I mean, I've experienced, I don't know if you guys have experienced as well, dreams like kind of where you're dreaming of people or situations that have happened within that day, or you saw a movie and then it kind of continues on in your dream state. It also helps to review our memories. So, you know, we are so stimulated within our environment that a lot of times, you know, our brain needs to be able to process all that stimuli. So then that's also what it's used for too. And I do believe it's true. Like, we do need to process the things that we've received in the wake state. And also to figure out problems. I believe that's true as well. I've figured out problems in my dreams in symbolic and archetypal form. So a lot of us do, actually. So this is kind of the basics of dreams, and I go deeper into this in my course. So I was talking about human brainwaves. A lot of it came from, I don't know if you guys have read Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. Yeah. So, I think that's a wonderful foundational work for all of this. And, you know, he's proven in science that literally getting into these altered states or when you're able to get into a gamma brainwave state, magic things happen. And Honorbon's work, remember I was telling you how he has proven in the lab that there are quantum oscillations within the microtubules in the neurons. He's proven that there's actually more frequencies beyond the human brain waves. It goes into the tetrahertz. So there's some form, and they haven't figured it out yet, but there's some transition point, like if you think of the sine wave, between moving through the veil and then getting into the third dimensional reality, somehow within us. And there's some transition point. And so it's almost like it's like the hierarchy, you know, going from top down or bottom up. I'm not 100% sure. But dreams basically usually begin in the theta state. And then when we're in delta, we are like in full on, you know, deeper sleep. Alpha too, like alpha, you can be in a deep meditative state. Between alpha and theta, you start getting into these deeper states. And right around in here is when you hit that hypnagogic state, sleep paralysis. When we're in high gamma, which this is what's strange to me, is that we can be in this state, but then all of a sudden go to high gamma if we have some interesting vision or visual experience within the dream state, you know? So that's really fascinating to me. And so we transition between these waves all day. A lot of us are stuck right now in beta because we are overstimulated, we're on the screens all the time, we're not connecting enough with nature. So we get into these high beta, and they're all jagged. You know, we want to be in a more consistent equilibrium within our brain waves. But it goes below this. And so the brain waves, which when they go quantum, we are hitting probably the terahertz stage, like what Honorbon said, and then that's when we're able to get into like the 0 point field and get into the quantum field, and then we start connecting based upon our frequencies to, we get into entangled states. So we're entangled with other beings in the universe based upon our own specific frequencies, our addresses, if you want to call it that. And so that's when you start going quantum. And so this is where I believe the magic happens in the hypnagogic state. So the liminal state, can you turn on the air conditioning?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Would you go back to the last slide? So when you described yourself experiencing sleep paralysis, would you say that you were in the gamma state, and then when you lost the fear, you went down lower to like the delta state, and that was what allowed you to have that experience?
I would say I was in the theta state around here. I was hovering here, and then when I let go of the fear and that being came through, it wasn't a gamma, it was probably a gamma because of the intensity of it. And it was almost like in order for her to speak to me, she had to did you see the light change? She had to transition to different levels, you know, dimensions in order to get to my level, so to speak. So there was a transition phase that happened, and I actually believe it was beyond gamma. I think if I were to go back, and I don't have in my course, I go deeper into what the frequencies are with Honorbon, but I believe it was in the terahertz phase because of the way that the sounds came through. It came through sound for me. Some people see visions, or are more visual. Other people are kinesthetic, some auditory, but this was auditory for me.
I'm just trying to understand. So
Yeah.
you want to be experiencing the higher level,
Yeah.
the faster
Yeah.
vibration in order to experience.
Yeah.
The,
So there's some strange, like, transition point, and Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot, which is interesting. When people, when they go to his workshops or whatever, or the advanced workshops, a lot of people get into this, like when you're meditating, you're kind of in a theta state, no thought, you're calm, you're okay, or right before you're falling asleep. But if you have an experience, those that have had experiences and what he's been able to show scientifically is that they're in this state, and then all of a sudden something happens, and then they go into this high gamma state beyond 100 hertz.
So the precursor is the theta or the
Yeah, it's right.
Okay.
It's like right here.
So that's what's getting people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're usually, alpha is like right now you guys are, hopefully you're like in an alpha state because you're really concentrating, like I'm talking a lot about science right now. And so you're really looking and you're concentrating. So your brain waves are probably around here. A lot of times, beta, when you're in a beta state, beta is useful. But when we get into a high beta state, that's when we're kind of anxious, we feel unstable, we're like doing too many things at once, It's better to be in this, to drop down into an alpha state. And so when you're meditating, you get deep into the theta. And from here, there's some transition point that gets you to gamma, but Honorbon, based upon his research and the science that he's, and has proven in the lab, is that there are 12 other frequencies that go even beyond gamma, which is fascinating. Like this is new science that's come out. Delta is when you're sleeping, your body's resting. Are there any other questions about? You want to ask now?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you think the environment does to us in terms of what kind of awareness we're in during the day? Are we in beta or theta? Are we moving between states? Are we influenced by our environment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're influenced by your environment, you're influenced by the people you're around, you're influenced by what you're doing, also by electromagnetic radiation, being on, cell phones and being around cell towers and being in cities. That can have a major effect. I think what's important for us is that for us to earth ourselves to get back more into the alpha stage. So earthing actually helps get us into this alpha theta stage. So taking off your shoes, like going outside, just standing on grass barefoot for 10 minutes can help you bring you down from beta to alpha, and possibly theta, I personally, so I grew up in the Bay Area. I moved here from the Bay Area a year ago, and I'm sensitive to the environment. And so since I've been here, it's been good. And I believe that the mountain ranges really help protect us here, and also Mount Shasta. We're in her bubble. And yeah, it's just, being within her energy bubble, not too close, because if you're too close sometimes, you can fry your system too. But just being within that and within these two mountain ranges helps, helps us, I believe. Do you guys feel your environment?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting, and I feel like more is going to come out, and based upon Penrose and Hammeroff, those two scientists, and then also Honorbon's work, the combination of that with Federico Fagin and Doug Matsky's, those together help me understand on a deeper level how we're able to transition to different phases from third dimensional reality to multidimensional reality.
That uplifts your consciousness.
Yeah. And then,
And then it's an upward spiral, because then you're easier able to reach theta.
Yeah.
And then you have another experience that uplifts your consciousness.
Yeah.
So then it continues to spiral upward.
Yeah. That's why I really like these diagrams.
Yeah, that's
To me personally, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. And then along with the 4 levels of perceptual reality and, spiritual awakening and awareness, I go through these phases all the time, often. And when I'm in a stasis state, that is when I get, I don't understand why I'm feeling, dull or nothing's coming to me. I had all this awareness, where, it's not coming. And you're in this stuck point almost. And then all of a sudden there's the contraction, the internalization. And then you go through the next cycle again. So it's really helped me understand the different phases that I've gone through. And I just really like this diagram. So we're going to go to the quantum. I believe that the liminal state, if you think of the sine wave, is the veil. That is when we transition. So we're in our third dimensional reality. But then when we get into these liminal in-between states, hypnagogic states, or altered states of consciousness, we start transitioning through the veil, which is a liminal state. And so this is where I call it jumping on the quantum stream, where you go quantum. And but it's all dependent upon your personality, your soul, your oversoul, your connection to the universe or whoever. And this is where you can connect to divine beings, the galactic community. You can heal. You can connect to your ancestors, other worlds. You can see past, present, and future. Quantum healing, quantum messages, and you can go quantum travel. There's quantum entanglement, which I was talking about. So, I'll ask you guys later because I'm really interested to hear your experiences. But when you have an interaction, let's say, with a galactic being, let's say an alien, or I'll just say straight up, you are entangled with that being. You're quantum entangled. So there's some so it's on an actual, it's a physical thing, but it's also a quantum thing where your particles are entangled with it. That's how you're able to communicate with it. And that's how it's able to communicate with you. So, and I go deep into this with my course, you know. So I believe that this is where the magic happens, where power happens. And like, what are dreams? This is like from a quantum perspective. So based upon a quantum perspective is we are connecting to unknown realities and in time and space. So I call it time and space, not space and time. Space and time is physical. Time and space is the non-local, non-physical. And you jump on a stream, a quantum stream. And what Doug says he believes is that he believes we each have hyperbit addresses, which is interesting. And that which is unique to each of us. And so if we connect to our hyperbit address, it's almost like connecting to our soul and our oversoul, because they're actually structured together. So there's different structures. There's different hyperbit, what are they called? E-bits, and they're all connecting together in these geometric forms. And then one of them, like he's able to prove this in math. I mean, the way I imagine it is like a web. There's jumbled together, and then there's like a web that's connecting to another one and another one. And it seems to me that would be where our oversouls are, And so since we are biological transceivers, I believe that we're starting to really prove that now with science, is that we can tune ourselves like a tuning fork to certain vibrations and frequencies, jumping on this and connecting to this, which then connects us to multidimensional realities. And then this happens in the liminal realm. So that's when we transition over through the veil. And unfortunately, most of the time it's spontaneous, unless we're taught how to do it. So we can teach ourselves how to do it, and you can learn how to get into these other states and transition safely. Due to quantum entanglement, we are able to connect to past, present, and potential futures, probable futures, because no future is set. There's infinite probabilities and other known realities and dimensions. So then we travel via quanta. The brain has to be in a specific biological frequency to connect, as we were talking earlier. And we're able to travel to multiple realities and multiple selves. In my dream states before, I've dropped in, I don't know if it was myself, but I've dropped in my consciousness into another human before and was experiencing the reality of whatever that human was experiencing. Have you guys ever experienced that before? Yes. Yeah. And it's happened multiple times, and there are multiple, different people.
Sounds like it might be something an empath.
I think empaths are sensitive, so their human sensory perception is heightened, so they're able to sense other people's energy fields. Yeah.
The telepathy tapes.
Yeah.
There's that one story about the child who communicates with his teacher by going into the dreams.
Yeah.
But I'm also a dream analyst, and I actually have dreams for clients.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My friend does that too.
So it might be interesting to talk to you later, because
Yeah.
I'm always curious why and what
Yeah.
that is. But I know there are it's a shamanic tradition
Yeah.
a lot of times too, that there are certain beings that can do that.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. Yeah, definitely. And my friend, where you could have like dream circles, dreaming with others. Sorry, my eye's going over there because the police are over there, and so the lights are flashing in the side of my side. Oh, okay, yeah. It's the quantum, flashing through. So it's really, just so much to this. Messages are sent and received. So I've been calling them quantum messages. And my website's called Quantum Messages. My podcast is called Quantum Messages. And I believe when we receive these type of messages, whether it's an archetypal, symbolic, auditorially, or physical form, that it is sent via the quanta, you know. So I'm really I'm doing a deep study into this. I believe we do need to be trained to get into this state because most of us don't have control over it. Like I said, it's spontaneous and random. And so sometimes the spontaneous and random ones can be scary sometimes, like I've had some scary experiences. But then others can be super transcendental, you know, like it just amazing transcendental experience and all like life-changing experience. So I go deep into this into my dreams. I mean, my course, Dreams Jump on the Quantum Stream. But basically what I teach is what are dreams, why do we dream, how do we dream? 4 quantum theories. So I go more into the quantum theories. The in-between liminal hypnagogic state, I go deep into that. Sleep paralysis, quantum teleportation, and the ancients. So the ancients knew about this all along. They were trained in this. They knew how to do this. They practiced this. It was part of their daily lives. Lesson 2 goes deep into the archetypes and symbols in dreams and the in-between state. So what, like for example, what do we do when we see these things? Like how do we interpret them? So I talk about quantum teleportation, quantum messages, quantum jumping through timelines, which is interesting. Archetypes, symbols, sounds, colors, numbers, messages, and worlds. So how do we, once we start doing this, how do we interpret all of these things that are coming forth to us? And so the woman that I'm going to actually be interviewing, she talks a lot about quantum jumping through timelines and the Mandela effect, which is interesting. And then lesson 3, I feel like is always the biggest one for everyone, is the integration practice. Once we have all these experiences, how do we integrate it into our everyday life or our life in general? So I go into remembering the work, the practice, shedding the shadow layers, and I now call it becoming friends with your shadow, because we can shed the shadow, but we also need to become friends with it because it's part of our whole self. We can't cut it off. If we cut off the shadow, we're cutting off a part of ourselves. And how to integrate it, returning to your power and being of service to others. So this will be happening, I'm launching this tomorrow. Here's my book, if you're interested. This is a 21-day, it's a journal, but it's a 21-day deep dive for yourself, because it's 21 days to create a habit and then 21 days after to integrate the habit into your life. But it's basically, it's dream collection is what it is. And then also automatic writing, quantum messages. So every morning when you wake up, you write down your dream. And I talk about how to do this. And then also you get into a deep meditative state and start doing automatic writing and quantum messages to start connecting with your guides. And so by interacting with this on a daily basis, it's really useful. And then also 21 days, 21 questions of shadow shedding questions and shadow work, basically. Trying to become aware of your shadow self, because if you become aware of it, then you can start releasing it and becoming friends with it, as I said. So this is a really useful book. And what else? Tomorrow is my course. If you guys want to join, you're totally welcome. 15% off. So it's Dreams15 is a coupon code, and there'll be a live kickoff tomorrow at 5:30.
Today's Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. July 30th, Wednesday, but thank you. Not today. Yeah, I was in a different state. I was in an altered state when I was doing this. So it's pretty cool. For this one, there are 5 videos, and then there are 3, so it's a 3 weeks, and 3 Zoom calls once a week. And then, we can gather together and we'll talk about all of your experiences, like what's coming up for you. We can interpret your dreams. We can talk about, questions, like anything that you guys have, and how to integrate it into your everyday. Here's my website. I mean, not my website, but my YouTube. And so this is Doug. I interviewed him, talking more about altered states. I'm doing this Mount Shasta Mysteries thing, but there's other people that I've interviewed too. There's some interesting ones on there. But yeah, subscribe, and more videos will be coming out. And yeah. Ooh, do you want to take a picture? You're good. Okay. Do you guys have let me know about your experiences and dreams, and do you have any questions or? Yeah.
Would you say we're dreaming all the time? We're just getting more skilled?
Yeah, it's really interesting. There are indigenous peoples who believe that, we are in the dream time, basically. Like, this is a dream. And that when we pass over, when we shed our skin, that is when we're actually waking up. So beyond death is the real reality. I don't know if you guys feel that, but
I would like to feel that.
yeah. And actually, to be honest with you, this is why I've really gotten deep into this, is because, being a cancer survivor, you have to face death. If you don't change your life, you will die of the disease. That is the way that it is. And so I had to face death, and part of facing death is being able to, the way that I faced death was exploring these altered realities to help me feel that this is not the only reality. And so in that search, I went deep down the quantum. Yeah.
Have you read Robert Monroe?
I have. Yeah, so it's really interesting. A lot of people have brought, so before I know of his work, but I didn't research him as I created this, which is interesting.
I don't know that much.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very, similar. Like, he has the Robert Monroe Institute. I don't really know if he goes into the quantum realm, though. But they teach people how to get into these altered states.
I think he did it. I don't know if he
Yeah.
had much success teaching other people, but
Mhm.
he kind of fell into it himself,
Mhm.
into going to all these different dimensions.
Yep.
Trained himself how to return to all
Yeah.
these places, but I don't know how many other people have.
He teaches a program.
Yeah.
Through the federal government, trains people in astral projection.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we can get deep into, some of that stuff.
And you can take the course.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I've had friends who have.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's.
It reminds me of Joe Dispenza's work a little bit too. But yeah, it's interesting work. And like I said, I all of this stuff I haven't really dived deep into his stuff yet. But are there any other questions? Comments, dreams, experiences? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I really thought this was really fun, and I'm actually also a dream analyst by profession, but I don't do passive analysis. I take people into re-entry experiences, and then I also do dream continuation, and I have people step inside the consciousness of the symbols. So
Nice.
But I have a whole theory about why we dream, and at some point it'd be fun to
Yeah.
connect.
Definitely. Yeah. Send me an email, or I'll give you my
Yeah.
number. Definitely. Yeah.
I think for me, I just very rarely remember a dream. And I recently, about 5 years ago, I Googled, when I close my eyes, all I see is black. Because for decades of trying to do creative visualization, it's all black. And it turns out it's a thing, it's called aphantasia.
Yeah.
And so then, and it can relate to the dream, but yet when I'm describing a dream, I never see a thing. But it's like a concept of it is kind of how I feel it. So I'm just
Same.
kind of perplexed when I'm thinking about maybe taking the course.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like when I sleep, I'm just so far down. But when I come awake in that early morning, or if I take a nap, and I come awake, I feel like things have been I mean, I know it's a really intense time, things have been happening, but it's not, I'm not privy to it this super face out consciousness. So it's just really interesting
Yeah.
to be looking at the brain and sleep
Yeah.
states.
That is interesting. So my friend's best friend, not my friend's, my daughter's best friend, is like, same thing. She, when she closes her eyes, she can't see pictures, so she can't see visual pictures. Like, or if you're reading a book, she can't imagine a picture.
Like I could never imagine
Yeah.
anything on a visual. I thought everyone was like that. It was a real shock.
Interesting. Well, I mean, it seems like you're feeling things, so there's a kinesthetic aspect of it. And do you hear things
Yes, occasionally.
auditorily?
Right, but it's mostly like, it's, you have the concept of it.
Yeah.
It's
So you're still getting something.
absolutely.
Interesting.
So that, there's like a period of despair, and then you realize, well, there's other ways.
Yes. And yeah, I was just thinking of, the telepathy tapes, the autistic kids. They're going, in the physical reality. They're not in this conscious reality at this, like the third dimensional reality. They're not able to do certain things, And so it's like physically, they're not feeling their body. It's like the opposite. They're so in their, the visual aspect in another world. And I've worked with really like nonverbal students before because I was a teacher. And so where they did not speak. And what I've observed is that they really are not. They're like half in their body and half out, And so it's really interesting. But everybody's individual and different. And we all experience things differently, And in the totality of, the universe, when we step out of our bodies, are we really seeing things, or are we feeling them, sensing them? So it's interesting. But I'm sure you can pick up
It's
a lot.
almost like it kind of feels like the non-localized state when you're trying to, if you say like, imagine my daughter's face, what I would do is I would imagine a picture that I'm aware of that we have of her, but then I can't get to the face, but it's the knowing, it's very conceptual.
Yeah,
I'm not at all a mathematician, but it feels kind of like geometric, sort of.
very interesting. I would definitely be exploring that.
Yeah.
The sense of the geometry, like, can you draw what you're feeling? Can you somehow put it out on paper? Can the feeling or the sense of it be put into a word, an adjective, or a sentence? Have you tried that before?
No.
No. Yeah.
Probably not even ever thought of doing it.
Yeah.
I know I didn't.
Yeah. Do you see things in your dreams, or?
I do, occasionally, but I also have moments where it's nothing but black. And I noticed for myself that when I shave my head, that's when I become more disconnected.
Huh.
I am indigenous in heredity, Haida. And I mean, I tried learning things from my grandmother, but she wasn't allowed to learn anything about our ancestry, any of our cultural. She was made to pretend to be white. So
Yeah.
she didn't know any of the language or any of the culture. I have gone into learning some of it, and that's why I have the tattoos I have, feeling more connected to my culture. And from things that I have experienced growing up, I can't say for certain, but it just was intuitive for me, and I think that I probably could have been a medicine man.
Mm-hmm. You still can.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, I don't have someone to teach me, but I have a lot of intuitive things that, you know, it's like, yeah, that sounds right, and, but I didn't know how to put it into words until you said it.
Thank you.
Thing.
Yeah, and with the, indigenous cultures, native cultures, they, and I don't know specific, but definitely in California, that's the ones that I'm in tune with because of my local area where I came from. But when they cut their hair, it was after a death of a family member.
Right.
And so it is true that hair is kind of like the transceiver, like it's an antenna. You know, it's conductive. So maybe you might want to consider growing out your hair long.
Well, I shaved it for a reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I lost my fiance.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, getting into connecting to the unseen realms. That is where you can connect to people on the other side. Because they're here with us. And so what I've come to realize is that it's kind of trippy, but everything's happening all here at once. It's not out there. It's all here. We're just on a different channel. I don't know if you guys know Bashar. Yeah. Talks about that, often. You should check him out.
Are you
Yeah.
familiar with the work of David Hawkins and the map of consciousness?
No.
Because he talks about, he's a scientist who's not around anymore, but he is able to assign frequency values to certain, when you're anchored into certain emotional vibrations.
Yeah.
And then from that perspective, it's basically explains why some people can be literally seeing red and
Yeah.
some people can be seeing blue, because wherever they're anchored in,
Yeah.
that's going to impact their ability to perceive and to be able
Yeah.
to see things and think things about the world and experience states of consciousness.
Yeah.
And so, and he does talk about there being a threshold frequency that's 200, and if that's the frequency of courage, and if you can get it, and that's where, like, you're telling the truth, you're willing to look at your shadow, you're willing to be curious about reality versus be judgmental or be victim, that you then start to create realities where you begin to build positive kind of momentum, and it becomes like a win-win. And so that's, I think, very similar to what you're saying about the waves.
Yeah.
And
Does his go up to 1,000?
yeah,
I believe
the zero
Doug,
state.
so Doug Matsky in his book, which I recommend, that talks about him. That was the first time that I saw it, but
I've read everything he's written, and
Yeah.
it's, I mean, I
Amazing.
definitely, it would resonate, I think, with you and this work
Yeah.
that you're doing.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wrote started with power versus force, but I really like
Okay.
the map of consciousness.
Okay.
explained.
Okay, yeah. And and that's the thing is, like, we're always learning more, and yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard this, but we're like supposedly moving into this new age, right? Like the new world. And so I've really been grappling with that a little bit. Like, we're all on this planet together, and there's a shared collective experience that we're all experiencing. But yet, on the other hand, we're all perceiving the world differently. So there's like 8.6 billion different perceptions of the world. So are there actually 8.6 different, Earths? Because we're all perceiving it differently and interacting with it differently. So I've been really asking those questions lately. But then we're all together, so there's a shared experience as well. So it's an interesting thought, but
Well, I think that's the anchors.
Yeah.
The visual that we all connect on, but then there's the perception of that is where we diverge.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And also our thoughts create our reality, which I'm realizing more and more, you know? So, yeah.
And then, like, people are working really hard, like on the map of consciousness,
Yeah.
with or shame and guilt at the very bottom for all of the humans who are working through like the trauma in their life and whatnot. And like, yeah, like I went through a long period, like years of like, God, if I could just get to courage, you know. And it's
Yeah.
like I'm working so hard through
Yeah.
this stuff, and that's like humanity, you know.
Yeah, that's the majority.
Yeah. Well, have you guys looked into the Law of One? Yeah, read the Law of One.
Aaron
Yeah.
Hackey's work is really great.
Yeah.
That's
So what Ra says is that, you know, we are in our transition phase right now. We're in the, you know, end of our master cycle, 75,000 year, and the Earth itself has transitioned and ascended into fourth density positive. We are still in a third density, you know, transition phase, and so that's why there's this like fluctuation that's happening and kind of destabilization on the planet. But there's so many people here on this planet because this is our chance to graduate to fourth density. So, and those that decide or don't change or don't work through the, you know, whatever, they'll go to another third density planet and return, you know, go to the 75,000 year cycle, try again. So, and that's the thing, is that if you think about it, maybe we came in here because this is actually a break, a vacation.
That's a good one.
Because if we are,
I feel like it.
it might be a hard vacation, but it's definitely, you know, your soul is definitely, you know, was up for the challenge. And, you know, maybe because if you know, if we're infinite beings and it's infinite, never ending.
It's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, maybe we came here into the veil of forgetting to take a break.
I like that theory. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, dumb it down.
Yeah,
Before.
to forget, because like, I mean, to know everything and to be part of everything all the time could be tiring, if you think about it. Yeah.
I had this period of time in the last 5 years where I would have 3 distinct dreams every night, and I would wake up after a dream semi-awake, and I'm like, oh, I'm dreaming. And I could go back into that former dream and continue on. And then it would end, and I'd go into two other dreams, and then in the morning I would remember the essence of each one, but I always had problems writing down what the dream was, because there's all this visual, and much like her, I could never see faces, but I could never see faces in detail. If I tried to look at somebody, it was more like I understood the energetic of what was in my dream with me as a person, but I couldn't describe the dream unless I wrote down the feeling. And so then if I could read something that made sense to me as a feeling, then I could remember the dream. But in terms of describing a dream, I'd start to write, and it's just like it's so less. And you got any tricks with that?
Yeah. So what I do is you have to be super disciplined, unfortunately. So I dream about 3 times in a night as well, and it's a pain. But you have to get a red light so you don't affect your circadian rhythm. And then when you wake up from your first dream, immediately turn on your red light and then write down anything that came to you, feelings, whatever, it doesn't matter, and then go back to sleep and then dream. And then immediately when you wake up, like you cannot even, it's almost like not even transitioning to, sometimes you turn to look at the clock. It's like, no, the transition is wake, immediately try and remember what it was, and then to the pen and write down whatever comes. And so it's a practice that you need to develop. It's hard, because it's it's hard sometimes to you don't want to do that. But if you really want to understand the messages that are coming to you, you have to give it at least, I always say 21 days. But to really get the messages, 3 months. Yeah. Or what you can do is that if you forget, you can get up. Like if you need to go to the bathroom, but immediately come back and sit up, write down a question in your journal, and sit in, like lotus, or I don't know, sit up like in a cross-legged position, like maybe against your bed. Write down the question, say the question aloud, and then close your eyes, and then anything that comes to your thought, any word, any feeling, symbol, archetype, doesn't matter what it is, write it down. And by developing that process, you will also start beginning to remember. Because your higher self will start speaking through you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions and comments, experiences?
Well, that's just been the struggle for me is that, I mean, because when I become conscious, it's like I'll have this feeling of the dream, and can't quite grasp it and hold on to it. It's like I have this feeling, and then within seconds it's gone, and it's I know that I had a dream, but I don't have any idea what it was.
But do you sense the feeling though? Can you write down what the feeling is?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that I have that feeling, but unless I, consciously, hold on to it, that goes away too. And I'm a terrible sleeper. My best sleep time is like from 3 a.m. to like 7 a.m. But I have to get up at 5:30 to go to work. So
right.
So I sleep until the last possible minute and get up and out the door.
Yeah. See that, and that's hard. Like if you have to immediately get up, or the dog barks and you're like, woken up from that, or the alarm goes off, and that transition is challenging. But what came to me when you were talking is even if you don't remember, what I think might help you is art.
Well, and that's my favorite form of expression.
Yeah. And through the art itself, like get a journal. And the feeling, the essence of that will still be with you, even though you might not fully be consciously aware of it, but it will come out. And it'll come out in symbolic form. Colors, numbers, archetypes, symbols, geometric shapes, whatever comes out, just draw it. And
see, that's my two favorite things is drawing and poetry.
Yeah. Both of them. And those things, that's where your soul speaks through, or maybe your guides will come forth. When you were talking, you were talking about your grandmother, and I was sensing that your grandmother is with you. She is, she has the answers because she's on the other side. So connecting with your grandmother would be huge. I just wanted to offer you guys that I will be doing potentially sometime, I don't know, at the end of this year, maybe next year, but I'm really involved. Do you guys know Buckhorn Springs here? So I'm very close to the owner, and I will be involved with Buckhorn a lot. And so I was thinking about doing a dream retreat where dreaming with Buckhorn. And on this, Buckhorn is a very, very sacred place. And so it is only one of 2 CO2 springs in the world, vapor springs, and it's here. The other one is in Turkey, which is unusual. The story of Buckhorn is that in the ancient times, the indigenous peoples, there are 4 tribes, around 4 tribes, so the Takelma, the Shasta, the Modoc, and the Klamath peoples. They all agreed that the medicine women lived on the land, and they all agreed that they would put down their weapons at the peaks, to go down to that. They wouldn't fight around that land because it's so sacred. And they would go, if they were injured, they would go to the medicine women, and the medicine women would heal them. So it's a wonderful place to dream and to connect with the spirits of the land and the ancestors. So, yeah. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.